All right, everybody. We are starting with perhaps the best announcement we have ever started an episode with. Is that fair to say?
No.
Is that fair to say?
No.
Who wants to say it? Grace, do you want to say it? Or should we have Hollis?
I can't
right now.
Grace
Hollis,
is going to be there with me.
I can't. No, I'm not.
Hollis, tell everybody the announcement.
Oh, I'm saying it.
Yeah.
So there's this show. I get this phone call actually last week, and they're like, "Hey, Hollis." I'm like, "What's up?" And they're like, "Hey, we think you'd be a really good fit for this show." And I'm like, "Oh, really? Like, what?"
Wait, before you say the show, guess what show Hollis is going to be on? Just think about it for a second. Okay.
So
go ahead,
they're talking to me like, "We think you'd be a really good fit for this show." I'm like, "All right, what show, brother?" And he's like, "Provo's Most Eligible, season 3. Are you down?" And I'm like, let me think about it. Actually,
he's had a lot of peer pressure.
and I've had a lot. Everyone I ask, of course, tells me, "Be on it, be on it, be on it." No one's told me no, except my aunt. Except my aunt. She's like, "Don't do it. Don't do it." But of course, the majority rules, so we're gonna do it.
Y'all. And we are gonna have a watch party where we all laugh with Hollis. And it's going to be amazing.
That's going to be the best day of my life.
I cannot wait to watch.
We're going to make the watch party's going to be unreal.
Yes.
I'm going to be in the corner crying.
We all have to be
I'm already crying right now.
We all have to be there together.
Okay.
Oh, gosh.
Done.
Welcome to This Is Kingdom. This is Grace.
This is Talon.
This is TJ. And this is Hollis.
Provo's Most Eligible.
Okay, no, that's okay. And this week...
Can you win that show?
What do you mean?
Is there a winner?
I've never seen.
Oh,
I think they're doing it differently. I don't know. I just said yes.
Anyway,
didn't think about it a lot. This week we are going over the talk, "Oh, Youth of the Noble Birthright" by Brother Brad Wilcox, and I think we all agree that he had some really good lines in this talk.
Can we just start with one of the best one-liners?
Let's start with what
he
ended with. Actually, he ended it.
This is how he ended his talk, and it was such a mic drop. I was like, okay, this is what he said. And I'm sure you remember it because when he said it, everyone was like, whoa. He said, "Don't let the world change you when you were born to change the world." Ooh, y'all feel it? Y'all feel it? And I really think that sums up his talk so well. If that's why you're here. You're here to change the world. And as I was prepping for this talk, I started thinking a lot about the people that I've met that listen to This Is Kingdom, our people that we love meeting, we love being with. And a lot of them are really good friends. A lot of them are people that I just love. And what I realize about a lot of them is that they are the kind of people that are trying to live this quote with their whole heart. Like I think of the Alyssas, and I think of the Elises, and I think of the Jennas. You guys can throw in more names. I think of the Hunters and the Ellas out there. You know what I mean? I think of these people. They're people that are genuinely trying to be the kind of people that change the world. And so we kind of just wanted to have a heart-to-heart episode today because I feel like us four, we're in that same boat. Like we're genuinely trying to become the kind of people that make the world better. These three are dang good at it, y'all. I can vouch for that. Grace
and we learned it from him.
Grace says chill.
So true, DJ.
But we kind of just want to share things that we've been feeling, we've been experiencing as we've tried to become the world changers that God hopes that we become. And I'll start with some thoughts. Grace knows part of this story, but not all of it, because the other weekend we did a little game night. We did a little group date, and it was such a good time until I got way too competitive, y'all. And I got mad at my wife. Like I got mad. Like Grace knows it's true. And this is the part that Grace doesn't know about the story. I felt like I was going to throw up the rest of the night. Like I felt so sick. Like I kind of, no offense, like I kind of like hated the rest of the night, and I was like, I'm just done. And everybody left, and I just like was walking around, and I was so disappointed in myself because this is not the first time I've made this mistake. If anyone knows me, you know that I get way too competitive. I've thrown too many pickleball paddles. Like I've let too many words slip that I didn't want to let slip. You know what I mean? Like this is something that I've learned again and again and again. And I've said it to myself, like, don't lose the game to Satan. Like the game here doesn't matter. Don't lose the game to Satan. And I was so disappointed because I was like, I make this mistake again and again and again. And I honestly spent the whole weekend kind of feeling just like crap. I'm like, I'm trying to be better, but I'm actually not that much better. And as I was pondering this talk, I don't know why, I just felt like I got a glimpse of God's heart. And there's a line in there in this talk that I just love. And the glimpse of God's heart that I got is that he just loves his kids that keep on trying again and again and again. And I just think he sees our weakness way different than we do. And I think he's there just encouraging us the whole way. This is the line that he says. And to me, it means a lot right now. It's like, I really do want to become someone that's a good person, that makes the world better, that brings people to God, you know? And he says this, he says, you've got this because Jesus Christ has got you. And it made me realize that if I keep trying to become this person, Christ isn't going to let me fall short. He's going to get me there as long as I just stick by his side.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because we hear that line, like, go out, change the world. That's like kind of what this whole talk is about. And we like hear it and we're inspired by it and we're like stoked about it. But I think inherently in all of us, there is a little part of us that's like, yeah, but that's probably not for me. And maybe it's because we got a little too competitive and we said the wrong thing or we did the wrong thing. Or maybe it's because you're saying, no, like I'm not good enough at this and I don't look this way and I do things differently than everyone else does. And I have all of these reasons. We go through and we list all the reasons why we say, yeah, I believe other people can change the world, but not me. I don't think I'm capable of changing the world. And I am just thinking about this quote. It's in the talk Born of God from like the 80s, maybe. I'm just making this up. I don't even remember who gave it. So sorry, everyone. But there's this quote in there that says, 12 simple men did a lot to change the world thousands of years ago. 12 simple men. And when you go back to the core of Christianity, Jesus chose 12 simple men. And I'm sure that in that group, there were some of those boys that got a little bit more competitive than others. And there were some of them that maybe thought, you know what, I'm not good enough at this to be able to like change the world. And maybe there were some that said, you know, someone else would have been a better pick than me. Someone else could have done a better job than me. But that's not how Jesus works. Jesus is not looking at your insecurities. Jesus is not defining you by your insecurities and your shortcomings and the reasons why you don't feel like you're good enough. Jesus is looking at you in all your simplicity and all of the reasons that you feel like you aren't qualified. And Jesus is saying, you are capable of changing the world with me. And don't sell yourself short. Don't sell yourself short. Like 12 simple men changed the entire course of the world with Jesus. Why shouldn't you?
I love that thought, Grace. As I was reading this talk and listening to what both of you are saying, it was reminding me of this personality test. Okay. It's called the Strengths Finders test. Have you guys heard of this test before? I love it. It's this test where it has 34 strengths. And when you take this test, it gives you your top 5. And it lists all 34 strengths from 1 to 34 and what you're best at and what you're least best at. And I love that because it reminds me of the spiritual gifts God's given all of us to change the world, that all of us have them. And we can choose which ones we're best at. And I feel like we can have these spiritual gifts that God has personally given us for us to change the world. And because of that, I just wanted to actually take some time to let you guys know the spiritual gifts I see in you guys. Because every time I think of Talon, I think of someone who elevates everyone around him. You can't not help but just be lifted up when you're with him and want to improve where you are standing. When I think of TJ, I think of discipline. I think of discipline as a father, someone who's there for Titan, someone who's there for his wife, someone who's there for his body, someone who's there for his family. When I think of Grace, I think of someone who's vibrant, right? You cannot help but feel so close to Grace and relate to her when you're with her. And I feel like each one of us has these spiritual gifts that can really change the world. And one of the best ways we can change the world is let other people know they can change the world. And that starts with us. And I feel like it's contagious. When you know you have that power and have that potential, it's something you just have to share with others. Because we talk about all the time about other people, but we rarely tell them. And I feel like sometimes you just need to take the time to tell people what you see.
And Hollis, that's something that you are insanely good at. Like, I feel like there have been so many times that I've even just like been with you for a tiny second. And then like that night, like you'll just text me and say something so kind and so thoughtful. And I think that you're really good at seeing people like through their whole heart. And I think you're right. Like, I think that's a really cool thing to pause and just be like, you know what? People need reminders that they're capable of changing the world. And I think that the people we surround ourselves with are the best people for doing that.
Yeah. Thanks, Hollis. That was nice, bro. When you're sharing, Hollis, I had to share this one-liner from Brother Wilcox, where he says, Does your birthright mean you are better than others? No, but it does mean you are expected to help others be better. And I love this analogy that he shares with the boat, right? Where where you're on the cruise and you look around and there's people drinking and people hanging out and people partying and having a good time. And maybe you kind of wish that you could be out there. And I got to be honest, in my journey of discipleship, there's been times where I look around and I'm like, man, the world looks fun, man. And like the world looks kind of cool. Like I want to try it out, like just for a little bit. But something that he says is you are not an ordinary member of the ship, but you are a member of the crew. And I want to say to any of those out there who are feeling like you're wondering if it's worth it to stay, and if it's worth it to stay on the crew, I got to remind you the same thing that Brother Wilcox reminds you, man. When you do the Lord's work, you get the Lord's pay, man. And there is nothing that this world can offer you that will even touch the smallest part of the inheritance and the birthright and the blessings and the miracles and the path that God has for those who stay on his crew and stay strong.
I was thinking about this quote. I'm going to try to find it. And it is going to be on my flip phone. So that's just going to maybe take a second. But I just think there's something really beautiful because I think it sounds really glamorous to change the world. And I think that's one of the reasons that maybe we let our insecurities get in the way, is because it does sound so glamorous. Like, oh, change the world. Like, that's going to be crazy. Or we hear like stories like that. And it's like, well, maybe it would just be easier to get off the boat and just like do whatever else I want and to like just like make whatever decisions that I ever possibly want. And there's not a chance in the world I'm gonna be able to find that quote on here. And so I'm just gonna do a paraphrase. Okay.
Okay.
I'm just gonna do a paraphrase. And it just got me thinking, like, I think sometimes it's just that phrase change the world that makes us like a little bit like sick. Like we're like, no, like I'm not good enough to change the world, or that seems like too much pressure to change the world. But I read this quote somewhere. It was in this college class, and this guy just came in and was talking to him. And he said something along the lines of, everybody wants to change the world, but no one wants to do their mom's dishes. And I just cannot get that out of my head lately, that changing the world seems really glamorous, which is maybe the reason you want to, is because it sounds so awesome. And I want to go all over the world and I want to change people's lives and I want to create something that's going to change everything. And that does sound really good. The problem with that is that it also sounds like almost too good, that you're like, I don't know if I'm capable of that. But I think there's really something so beautiful about realizing, like, this is not about changing the world. This is about changing your world, the world that you live in. And that looks like going home and doing the dishes for your mom. That looks like walking in at the end of the day when your roommates are all on the couch and like sitting there and actually having like a real conversation with them, telling them what you really love about them, building them up. That looks like reaching out to people on your drive and just being like, oh, who could use a call right now? That looks like going out of your way to invite someone that maybe hasn't been invited in a long time. And I just think that we get so caught up in changing the world that it makes us see things differently. Oh, that's out of our league. I don't think I'm capable of that. When in reality, sometimes I think that maybe we should just pause and say, like, look around at your world and what can you do to change it? What can you do to make that a little bit better? Because I think that's what people need more than anything else. It's just someone to help make their world a little bit better. And that's as easy as doing the dishes.
And I think something really powerful happens when one individual decides that I'm going to make my world better. And then when 2 individuals decide that, and then when 10 people at your school or at your job decide that, you know what I mean? And it just grows. The more people that just make that decision of, I know who I am. Like I'm God's kid, and he trusts me, and he's counting on me, and he believes in me, which maybe is the most beautiful part. He believes in me, maybe if I don't believe in myself. And you make that decision, I'm going to make things better around me. I'm going to be led by God. I think that's when really, really beautiful things start happening.
And let me just say this really fast, because this is how we started the episode, and I think that it should be how we end the episode as well. We meet you guys that like listen and watch our podcast, and we talk to you and we hear your stories, and sometimes we read your DMs. We're a little bit less good at that, but like we try our very best to read your DMs, and we hear your stories. And I feel like confidently I could speak for all of us. When we look into your eyes, there is not a doubt in our minds that you change the world. There is not a doubt in our minds that you are the very best God has. And we feel like the luckiest people in the world that we get to know you, but like I just cannot help but think of name after name after name of person after person after person that I just feel like, oh, like
you're a gift. You're a gift here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. God did his best work with you.
Yeah, and we need you.
Amen.
Firm as the mountains around us, stalwart and brave we stand. On the rock our fathers planted for us in this goodly land. The rock of honor and virtue, of faith and the living God. They raise his banner triumphant over the desert sun. And we hear the desert singing, carry on, carry on, carry on.
Come on.
Hills and vales and mountains ringing.
Hit it, Grace.
Carry on.
Grace, come on. We know what you want to.
Carry on.
I couldn't mess that up. See you next week.